Hi there, I'm Margie Holmes, clinical psychologist, author, and educator. This week's episode is all about orgasms. But because we received a lot of interesting questions from you, we'll have 2 episodes dedicated to the topic. Today, I'll answer questions on female orgasm. Stay tuned for part 2 next week, which will be on male orgasm. So let's begin our private session. But before I start answering your questions, let me tell you something about the color of my jacket, which is sort of light lavender, light purple. Now, the reason this is also the color of RH is because gynecologists have said that this is the color of the vagina when it has reached nakarating sa langit, at we say in Filipino, okay? I just thought you'd like to know that. Okay, so our first question is, how will I know if she's faking it? Very short answer, you don't. Okay? A lot of people say, well, I guess you can look at the color of her vagina and see if it's lavender or purple, but you know, that's pretty surprising to say the least to do. And some people say that you get a sexual blush when you reach an orgasm, but you know, it's very hard if you're kayumanggi like many of us Filipinos. So I think if you're in a good relationship, then you just trust her if she says she comes. At least that's the way I would go with this situation, okay? Second question, once I reach orgasm, it always feels too short. Is there any way to have it longer? Now, before I can answer that question directly, I'd like to know, do you mean that you're bitin? Because if you are, why don't, even if you have an orgasm, you see, sometimes you can be bitin because you feel, merong isa pa na pwedeng dumating, just if I get the right stimulation. So I would say, if you want to keep the pleasure going, why don't you try continuing with the stimulation? If it hurts, which it can sometimes happen because of the oversensitivity of the clitoris especially, why don't you experiment with your partner or with yourself in case you're masturbating, and then just wait a bit till the overstimulation goes down, and then try stimulating yourself again or have your partner stimulate you again. In other words, don't shoot or don't make your goal a multiple orgasm, but why don't you have 2 or 3 or 4 orgasms with itty-bitty short breaks in between? Okay? Now, TE says, my sex life is terrific, not only because I think I am blessed with a very exploring husband, but also because I enjoy multiple orgasms every time. 4 times at the very least, and much more when I was younger. I just wanted to hear from you if it's natural for someone at age 52 to still be experiencing this. Definitely natural, TE. In fact, marami sigurong naiinggit sa'yo, and more power. Okay? China says, being a lesbian, I've done it with girls only. Now I'm dating a new girl who used to date girls during high school but shifted to dating guys during college until I came along. But she commits only with girls, and all the other guys before me are just her fuck buddies. I used to be scared about doing it with her, knowing I don't have a penis. We did it plenty of times already, and she says she's satisfied and that she did reach orgasm. Still, I wonder, is there a difference between the orgasm a penis can give and an orgasm through fingering and stimulating the clitoris? Do guys really do it better? Are they really more thrilling in bed? Of course, it depends, China, right? It depends on who you're more sexually attracted to. You sound like you're more sexually attracted to women. No, I mean, not you sound like, you're very clear about that. And your partner sounds like she's bisexual, although who she prefers more or trusts more are women. Okay? Now, as we know, the greatest sex organ is the one between your ears, not between your legs. So, the emotional commitment that she feels with you is what really matters. So, if you don't have a penis, but you do everything you can to pleasure her, you use your hands, you use your finger, you use your tongue, you use a dildo if you want to, then this is what will give her pleasure. Okay? Not, you know, if a guy has a big penis or a small penis or a penis that can do the whatever dance, the watusi or whatever, Big deal. That may work for heterosexual women and certainly for gay men, but it doesn't work for you and hopefully for your partner. Okay? Now, I think you have to be very careful. I don't sense it from you, but some lesbian women are so concerned and so scared because they think that, oh, anytime now, my girlfriend might leave me for a guy. You know, if she's making you feel like this, she's being very manipulative. It's a game that people sometimes play to make you insecure. Don't join the game, okay? Mapipikon ka lang because it's so manipulative. You know, it's not worth it. Now, I just want to say that, of course, there is a difference between manipulation and genuinely wondering, what is my sexual orientation? Which, as we know naman, isn't set in stone. It can differ in different phases of your life. At least that's what the latest research shows, okay? So I think to know whether she's manipulating you or whether this is a real, genuine wondering, one of the things you can check out is your feelings. Do you feel insecure and scared? Or do you feel for her and say, God, I wish I could help her as she's going through all these things? Okay? Now, an anonymous viewer asks, can you still have an orgasm if you are disabled? My arm is amputated. Isn't that a turn-off para sa mga lalaki? Alam mo, depende yan sa tao, sa partner mo. At totoo, kapag ang talagang will make a difference is how self-conscious you are. Kasi pag hindi ka maka-orgasm, hindi dahil wala kang arm. Dahil yon sa pagka-self-conscious mo. Kasi alam ko no na madaling magsalita and I don't mean to be patronizing, but that's the way it is because to have an orgasm, usually you shouldn't be self-conscious. You should just really be involved in the moment. No? At saka I think one thing that you can think of that might please you or reassure you is, you know, for goodness sake, he knew you didn't have an arm or you only had one arm before he made love to you, so at least he won't be surprised, right? And if he wants to make love to you, he wants to make love to the total you, okay? And not just, you know, to a part of you. I mean, there are some guys and some women, but more guys who have this fetish, but they are so few in number. And besides, even if he has a fetish like this, that he likes people with disabilities, big deal, that means he really likes you, right? All you want is that hindi ka lang dinagamit. All you want is someone, I think, no, I can't really tell you what you want, but I think all you want, or I think part of what you want is someone who looks at the total you and appreciates the total you and not just what limbs you may have or not. Okay? Now, another question. I just want to ask, Doc, ang squirt po ba ay uri ng orgasm? Is the water coming out of a girl's vagina urine or a different kind of water? First of all, it is definitely not urine, and they have done studies and have found out that it is definitely not semen. What you're talking about is basically the G-spot, which is a pea-sized, what do you call it, tissue, which is within the woman's vagina, either in the 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock position, pretending, looking straight at the vagina and thinking it's a clock, okay? Now, these are general things because sometimes your G-spot can be in the 6 and 12 o'clock position, but it doesn't really matter. And by the way, not every woman has a G-spot. The latest research says 50% have it. So please, please, guys or women who like women, please don't pressure your partner to have a G-spot and look for it so that if it's manipulated, she will squirt copious lubrication, which is not urine, not water, and not semen. Okay? I mean, kawawa naman tayong mga babae, you know. We have so many different kinds of orgasm. Multiple orgasm, the G-spot, ano pa ba yung iba? Simultaneous orgasm. You know, if I think your partner really cares for you, he will be happy when you're happy. It is not a contest. It is not something he'll talk about in the locker room. Uy, yung partner ko, 20 multiple orgasms, ikaw ba ilan? Ugh, not nice to have a guy like that. Okay? An email from Savayo. who says, I'm turning 49 soon. I came into my womanhood pretty late. I slept with my first boyfriend when I was 29. It took me so long to be curious or bold about sex. Then came years of no sex, busy building up my career, earning a living, etc. I'm still single to this day. I got back into sex just last 2007 when I realized I don't want to be alone forever. Here's my question. Will turning 49 and possibly going into menopause mean less desire for sex? Absolutely not. Okay? And we'll talk about that just a little bit later. And then she continues, I am an active woman. I walk, hike, swim, do yoga. Will that help me keep interested and easily turned on? Yes, absolutely so. So going back to the first question, even if you're menopausal, you can enjoy sex to the hilt. Okay? In fact, sometimes because you don't have to worry about pregnancy, it might even be better. You'll also be more confident. And with women, studies have shown that the emotional aspect of your life is so important, and confidence, not being hesitant, not being apologetic, matters to a woman much more than it seems to matter to a man. Okay? I mean, they say orgasms is a combination of friction and fantasy. Okay? And by the way, Dr. Helen Singer Kaplan said this, and she used to be the director of the sex therapy unit in Cornell. I mean, I don't want to think I'm just spouting all these things. I mean, sometimes I do, but I'll tell you, kung may basehan, at ito may basehan. So orgasms are a function of friction and fantasy. And it seems that for men, friction matters a whole lot more, okay? Or friction matters a lot. For women, studies have shown, and my clinical experience has borne out, that the fantasy or the feelings about how your partner feels about you matters a lot. So, to enjoy sex when you're menopausal, and even if you're not, but particularly when you're menopausal, is your choice of partner. Does he validate your spirit and encourage you to revel in your sexuality? I hope he doesn't make you conscious about your age, okay? Because these things are no-nos. Okay, so answer to your second question about walking, biking, doing yoga, yes, it helps. Not only because if you're physically physically healthy, especially yoga, I mean, you're on top of the game, and if you're doing yoga, you can do a lot of things, you're flexible, back bends, etc., etc. Okay? But there are two other reasons why being physically fit is good. First of all, if you exercise, that means you're not depressed. Or you're not as depressed as you could be, because with severe depression, even though you want to exercise, you cannot. Okay? Plus, when you exercise, the beta endorphins, sort of magnify this feeling of happiness. Okay? Thus, your interest is very high. Okay? And then the other thing, please to remember, is that a confidence in yourself matters, and don't think because you're menopausal or older that, my God, it takes me so long to get turned on. Remember, I don't know if I've said this before, but, if I did, pasensya na lang. A cosmopolitan study asked women how long it took them to be ready for penetration. And the average was at least 20 minutes minimum. So if your partner seems impatient after 15 minutes or 5 minutes, sabihin mo, oy, hindi ka ba nagbasa ng Cosmopolitan? Of course, joke only yan, no? But at least know that you are not inadequate, okay? An email from AM goes, I'm in my 20s and I've been sexually active for a year. I can never achieve a vaginal orgasm, just clitoral, and I'm too embarrassed to tell my boyfriend. We can go on for an hour and I really just can't get an orgasm. Any tips? First, don't think it's your fault that you can't get an orgasm, okay? It may be that you're expecting too much of yourself. And again, there goes the self-confidence. And if you expect too much, of course you can't achieve it. And if you feel bad about yourself, then, you'll feel worse, and then bang, the orgasm goes out the door. Okay? Actually, Freud started it when he said that vaginal orgasms are a lot better or a lot more mature than clitoral orgasms. There is no basis in fact about this, and in a way, it puts the onus on the woman. Because if a guy comes too fast, we'll just say 30 seconds. I mean, some women say, anong nangyari? Okay? So how can you get an orgasm in 30 seconds? Right? So don't worry about not getting a vaginal orgasm. Okay? Secondly, I want you to know that most women get their orgasms from direct clitoral stimulation. Right? But if you don't get it from direct clitoral stimulation, even if you don't, according to Masters and Johnson's, when you get an orgasm through intercourse, it is not because of your vagina getting a lot of stimulation. It is because your vagina, the labia minora, or is it majora? Anyway, the labia is connected to the hood of the clitoris. So as your vaginal walls are being stimulated, then the labia is moving, and it is the stimulation of the labia over the clitoris, which is what makes you come. Okay? And besides, the division is no longer merely clitoral or vaginal. There are things like cervical orgasm, uterine orgasms, etc. So I guess in the end, you can say different strokes for different folks. And if your guy can make you come through clitoral orgasm, more power to you, really, and more power to him. Okay? The next question is from a viewer who says, call me maybe. And she says, I'm not being facetious, it's just because I am maybe, I'm not so sure of things. I am a 26-year-old lady. I'm not the conservative type. I have slept around both with strangers and with men I really loved. There's always libog when I sleep with men I love or not. But I don't always get the orgasm. The operative word is always. I just find it unfair that when men have sex or make love, they always come, while it's not always the case for women. I have been single for a while now, and since I've slept around with a few men because I feel the need to, but I often end up feeling empty, and it manifests itself in me by not coming. It seems that I need to establish prerequisites like trust, attraction, excitement, security, maybe even love. I know this because before my last relationship got sour, I got the best orgasms of my life. The problem now is I'm too jaded, so it really takes a while for me to trust men in general. I also fear that I may have intimacy or trust issues. I masturbate almost every day and I always come. And boy, is it good. Good, I'm glad it's good. So I wonder if this somehow affects my psyche, or does this matter when I have sex with men? It could definitely be affecting your psyche, but you've taken the first step because now you know that it does, and so it will be easier for you to deal with this directly, okay? One of the reasons, and I am not blaming you for masturbating, in fact, I think it can be, or it is a very wonderful thing, but sometimes one can get used to a particular way of masturbating, the rhythm, the intensity, etc., that when your partner does not do it this way, it may be a problem. Because, hindi ba, if you and your partner have a good relationship, there is trust, there is intimacy, there is good communication, then you can share with each other what you like and don't like. And it could be this that makes you come. Okay? Even though you are not in love with your partner or he is not in love with you, of course, he can be very sensitive to your needs. And that is nice because, being selfless and doing things can be really, really a turn on, right? But do not feel bad just because you need a relationship within the framework of love, trust, etc. I mean, a relationship where orgasms are included. All it means is, welcome to the club, okay? Because most women feel this way. Most women cannot get an orgasm unless they feel like they are in a relationship that matters. And a relationship that matters doesn't mean he's gonna ask you to marry him, And a lot of times women don't like that. A relationship that matters means you can be yourself, You don't have to pretend, and neither does he. He doesn't have to pretend he loves you, even if he doesn't. Okay? So, our next question is... Okay, sorry. So, she continues in her letter, since I know I can fully trust myself when masturbating, I can come with ease but with men, since I know I can't fully trust them, I don't let go or open up or get really into it. It then becomes a vicious cycle, or wanting controlling, or wanting giving, in feeling empty, conditioning, wanting giving in again. Is this normal, or am I overthinking everything? It is normal to think about things and wonder about things if you're not getting what you feel you deserve in relationships. That is very normal. And I hope, after being part of this show, I hope that it will help you in terms of knowing things, and being more confident, because this is what matters. Okay? If my answer is insufficient, please give me not give me a call. Please email me and I will try to answer your question more fully. But don't worry, at least you know yourself. You know that hindi ka pwedeng basta-basta. Oh God, that sounds so sexist and so judgmental. I don't mean that. You know that you are a kind of woman where the guy has to sort of prove himself. You don't just say, oh, I met you, I like your eyes, let's have sex. And there's no harm in that. Okay, there is absolutely no harm in that. Okay, a Twitter question from Ako Si Ice. How about naaabot ang langit pero hindi heaven ang feeling? Yes, nangyayari yan, Ako Si Ice, and I'm so glad you asked it. Okay? Well, pag nakaabot ka sa langit, what it means is, as Helen Singer Kaplan said, friction and fantasy. What it means is that your lover, or you yourself, so syempre magaling ka kasi sarili mong katawan, what it means is you yourself are technically proficient, you know how to give yourself stimulation to come. Okay? And that is great, and if your partner knows it, that is great. But kung feeling mo na yung partner mo hindi ka mahal, or you don't feel safe with your partner, your body may respond, but your heart and soul are not in it. So, hindi heaven ang feeling mo. Syempre, I can only hope na hindi rin impyerno ang feeling mo. Okay? Now, it is also possible that you have this disorder called PGAD, okay? Which is persistent genital arousal disorder. What happens here is that women have orgasms even without stimulation, have orgasms very quickly, have orgasms even if they're talking on the phone, and indeed, even while they're doing a show as Margie, okay? However, in the Philippines, I have never met any woman who has had this experience, no? Even as a sex therapist and a clinical psychologist, no? However, during my internship, I met 2 women who had this problem, and it is a problem. And what these women say is, what they hate is if ever they open up to someone, people make fun, they make jokes like, wow, ang swerte mo naman. And, they really don't appreciate it because it's trivializing their problem, right? Okay, I hope I answered your question about the difference between nakarating ka sa langit, which is really basically a physical thing, stimulation, and feeling heaven, which is, ang sarap kasi kasama mo yung, kung hindi mo mahal, at least kasama mo yung gusto mo, at alam mo na gusto ikaw rin, na gusto niya. Okay? RD asks, Doc, bakit ganon? 11 years na kaming magkasama pero minsan na lang kami nagsesex. Minsan kailangan muna niyang manood ng porn bago magtalik. Pero para akong babaeng bayaran sa kanya, ni halik, wala. Minsan nga naisip ko na may babae siya kasi sa ginagawa niya sa akin. Tinanong ko naman po siya, ang palaging sagot niya ay marami lang siyang iniisip. Alam mo, naniniwala ako sa iyo na parang unbelievable, hindi ba? Kasi hindi naman bigla 11 years, pero magkabigla kung napakagaling niyang magromansa sa iyo, ang feeling mo is talaga niya ikaw mahal, then in the span of 11 years, first, he needs pornography to get turned on. Secondly, parang hindi ka na hinahalikan. Masakit yun, no? Thirdly, parang hindi lagi-lagi kayong nakikipag-sex. And more important, parang he doesn't care. He doesn't care how you feel. And this is the real problem. So I hope you can talk to him. And if he doesn't seem to care for you, you can leave him. But if you don't want to leave him, then I think try and get to a point where not having sex with him is okay. Because in a way, you have sex with him pero baliwala. Not only baliwala, pero ang sakit, hindi ba? So, try and talk to him 2, 3 times, even 4 times. Pero kung hindi pa siya nakikinig, I feel personally, and this is what I tell my clients, and many times my clients Facebook mo and email me and say, thank you very much, this really worked. It's because equality is not something you beg for. Respect or consideration is not something you beg for. It is there if the man knows how to respect someone. And if the man is not this sort of person, bakit pa? Huh? Anyway, okay. A Facebook question from Jonas Gomez. Do Playboy images matter a lot to a girl kahit seryoso ka sa kanya? Jonas, I think depende yan sa babae. Okay? Lalo na ang babae na feeling nila, napaka-cute nila. So kung napaka-cute nila at they look good naman like a Playboy model, big breasts, waspish waist na maliit, ba't ka patitingin sa ibang babae? But actually, these women are a bit unrealistic, no? Because men are primarily visual creatures and they like to look at women. And why not? I think it depends on the woman because it depends on her self-confidence. Kung self-confident ang woman, okay lang sa kanya kung tumingin ka sa ibang babae, lalo na kung sa Playboy magazine kasi hindi sila totoong babae. I mean, hindi mo sila makakausap, hindi mo sila i-date, etc. No? Kung she's confident, she won't mind that. And if she minds it, mahirap rin yun, hindi ba? Kasi ang mangyayari, bihira ang lalaking titigil kung gusto niyang tumingin sa Playboy images. Ang mangyayari siguro ay matututo ko lang magtago. So kung nandun siya, kunwari, ang binabasa mo, Biblia siguro, hindi Playboy. Pero kung wala siya, yun ang gagawin mo. So, it sounds like it could be an issue and it sounds like this is something you have to talk to her about. Okay? If you want a trusting, open relationship, I suggest you talk to her about it. Okay? HL says, I have a 22-year-old friend who had a sexual encounter when she was younger. She was asked to perform oral sex on her cousin and uncle. Both her parents worked overseas, so she didn't tell anyone about it. Her problem now is her sexual urges. She watches porn, goes to the toilet, and masturbates just to satisfy these urges. She feels restless and can't sleep once she gets these urges. She told me that she wanted to stop but can't. I tell her to stop watching porn and make herself busy some other way. Is this the right thing to advise? Actually, to tell her to stop watching porn is a good idea because this is something under voluntary control, right? And even try and make herself busy. So, in a way, your advice was okay. And it shows that you care for her, which is the most important thing, really, about giving advice. And of course, not definitely giving wrong advice and pretending that it is fact when it isn't. But anyway, are her urges a result of her past? In my opinion, what happened to her was rape. She was taken advantage of by people she trusted. She started hating men, so she's been having relationships with women. I think her condition is getting worse, but I never judge her. What is the best thing for her to do? First of all, there are a lot of opinions, and I'm so happy that you distinguish between opinions and fact. Okay? First of all, because the way you say that she likes women now implies perhaps that all lesbians like women because they have been damaged or raped in the past. And that is just not so. Okay? Lesbians like women because they like women. Okay? And why not? We're beautiful, we're thoughtful, etc., etc. Of course, men are too, but I think we should forget this idea, which of course Sigmund Freud started, that the reason you're homosexual is because you have regressed or you went through a bad experience. That is just not so. And I agree with you that not only was it rape, but it was incest, okay? Because not only were the people older than her and more powerful than her, but this was her uncle and her cousin. And this is family. So with incest, the family takes advantage of her. Now, I don't know if her past is the reason that she masturbates so much. I honestly don't know. I would think the best thing for her to do is to go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but a psychiatrist who is trained in also looking at the past and will not just counsel her about the present, just to see if the past has a big impact on her present life. And finally, according to Sigmund Freud, which I believe a lot, to be normal is to be able to love and to work. Okay? I mean, she doesn't trust men, and I hope in time she will. But if this lady can love, I mean, she obviously trusts you, so that's the first step, and maybe she can start trusting and loving other people, whether woman, if she's a lesbian, or men, if she's heterosexual, or both, if she's bisexual, okay? And if she works, I mean, obviously, if you work in the office, she's working. The mere fact that she masturbates a lot does not mean she's abnormal, okay? Because obviously, it doesn't affect the rest of her life, right? As we say in psychology or in sex therapy, the number of times you masturbate is not as important as the psychological meaning of the act for you. Maybe we will have an episode on masturbation one day and we can talk more about this. But right now, I would just like to say, maybe give something that will wrap this all up. At least I certainly hope so. That please don't think I'm heterosexist, the homosexuals out there, but since it's easier and is shorter to just talk about heterosexuals for now, because they're supposedly 90% of every population, I just want to say that poor guys, and also poor women, who are lesbians, have been given a bad rap. You are told that your lovers, your partners are mechanical, and yet we are far more sensitive. And that is why, men cannot give women orgasms because they are thoughtless. They are insensitive. And in fact, isn't it, when you want someone to be tough and strong, you always say, be a man, get some balls. Okay? I would just like to quote Betty White, who says, I don't know why people say get some balls when they want you to be tough. Balls are very sensitive. If you want others to be tough, you should say, get a vagina. These things take a pounding, okay? But as we know, both men and women are sensitive in their own ways, okay? Both in terms of gender, but also in terms of themselves. So if you find someone who takes care of your needs, okay? Someone who takes pain to understand them and does all he can to pleasure you, then this guy is a keeper. Hold on to him. You can have several keepers, okay, if you haven't said, you're the only one in my life. But, there are some people you care for and you respect. Of course, hopefully you respect everyone, but you respect them more and care for them enough to keep them, hopefully, with you for the rest of your life or for a long time in your life. Okay? None of this, ikaw lang ang pinakamamahal ko sa buhay. And it's crap. I mean, it's crap if it's a lie, although it can be a wonderful thing if it's true. Okay? Next week, I'll continue part 2 of our episode on orgasm. And that time, it'll be all about male orgasms. For a future episode, I'll answer questions on kissing. So please send me your questions on Facebook, tweet using the hashtag AskMargie, or send an email to askmargie@rappler.com. Of course, as usual, we always encourage you to video questions, okay? So that you don't see only my face, okay? Be bold. Send us a link to your video question, okay? See you next week. Hi there, I'm Margie Holmes, clinical psychologist, author, and educator. For a future episode, I'll answer questions on kissing. So please send me your questions on Facebook, tweet using the hashtag AskMargie, or send an email to askmargie@rappler.com. Of course, as usual, we always encourage you to video questions, okay? So that you don't see only my face, okay? Be bold. Send us a link to your video question, okay? See you next week.